What happens when a cocky Navy SEAL tries to embarrass the wrong woman at a bar? This is the story of Ghost 9, a call sign so classified that just hearing it made a decorated SEAL drop his drink and frantically call his commanding officer. This is Tracelight Stories, where real life meets karma. Murphy's Tavern in Virginia Beach was packed with the usual Friday night crowd. Military personnel from nearby bases mixed with college students and locals, creating that familiar buzz of a Navy town. At the corner table, Lieutenant Jake "Hammer" Morrison was holding court with his SEAL Team 4 buddies, fresh back from deployment. But it was the quiet woman at the bar who caught his attention. Sarah Martinez sat alone, nursing a beer, looking like any other college student in her flannel shirt and worn jeans. Something about her stillness bothered Morrison. In his experience, civilians in military towns either avoided eye contact or tried too hard to impress. This woman did neither. Morrison had that swagger that comes with surviving Hell Week and multiple deployments. He'd earned his tried in the hard way, and he wasn't shy about letting people know it. His teammates called him Hammer for good reason. He was direct, forceful, and rarely wrong about reading people. "You know what bugs me about this town?" Morrison said, his voice carrying across the room. "It's full of wannabes who think watching Top Gun makes them understand what we do out there." His buddies chuckled, but Morrison's eyes stayed fixed on Sarah. There was something about her posture, the way she held herself, that didn't match the college student image. "I bet half the people in here claim they served," Morrison continued, standing up, "especially the quiet ones who think they look mysterious." Sarah looked up from her phone, her green eyes meeting his with unsettling calm. The bartender, a former Marine named Rodriguez, glanced over nervously. He'd seen this scenario play out before, and it rarely ended well. "Actually," Sarah said quietly, "I prefer to keep my service record private." Morrison laughed, his teammates gathering around. "Oh, come on, sweetheart. If you really served, you'd have a call sign. What was it? Buttercup? Princess?" The bar had gone quiet. Even the jukebox seemed to lower its volume. Sarah set down her beer and stood up slowly. At 5'6", she was dwarfed by the muscular SEAL, but there was something in her posture that made Morrison's smirk falter. "My call sign," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper, "was Ghost 9. The effect was immediate and devastating. Morrison's face went white. His beer slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor. Around the bar, conversations stopped mid-sentence. Rodriguez dropped the glass he was cleaning. That's not possible," Morrison stammered, his voice cracking. "Ghost 9 is classified. That pilot is dead," Sarah finished. "Yeah, that's what the official reports say." Morrison's hands shook as he pulled out his phone. His teammates looked confused, but they could see their usually unflappable leader was genuinely shaken. "I need to call my CO," Morrison said, his voice barely audible. "Right now." As Morrison stepped outside, his phone pressed to his ear, Sarah turned back to her beer. The bar remained silent, everyone sensing they'd witnessed something significant, but not understanding what. Rodriguez approached cautiously. "Ma'am, I don't know what just happened, but that SEAL looked like he'd seen a ghost." Sarah smiled sadly. "In a way, he did. To understand what happened next, you need to know about Operation Nightfall, a classified mission that took place 3 years earlier in the mountains of Afghanistan. SEAL Team 6 had been inserted to capture a high-value target, but intelligence was wrong. Instead of finding their target, they walked into a trap. Taliban forces had them surrounded in a valley with no escape route. Air support was 20 minutes out, too late for the 12 SEALs pinned down by heavy fire. That's when Ghost 9 appeared. Captain Sarah Martinez had been flying a solo reconnaissance mission in a modified A-10 Warthog when she intercepted the distress call. Against direct orders from command, she diverted from her flight path and dove into the valley. What happened next defied every rule of physics and common sense. Ghost 9 threaded her aircraft through mountain passes that shouldn't have been navigable, strafing enemy positions with surgical precision while providing cover for the SEALs' extraction. The Taliban had never seen flying like this. Sarah's A-10 moved like a dancer, appearing and disappearing through the mountain peaks, raining down precise fire that eliminated threats without endangering the trapped SEALs. For 15 minutes, Ghost 9 single-handedly held off an entire Taliban battalion. The SEALs were able to reach their extraction point, but Sarah's aircraft had taken multiple hits. On her final pass, a surface-to-air missile found its mark. The last transmission from Ghost 9 was her calm voice saying, "Tell my mom I kept my promise." The A-10 crashed into the mountainside in a ball of fire. Search and rescue teams found wreckage, but no body. Captain Sarah Martinez was declared killed in action, posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. The woman who couldn't officially exist, But here's what the official reports didn't say. Sarah had survived the crash barely. Badly injured and trapped in enemy territory, she'd been extracted by a classified recovery team 48 hours later. The military made a decision. Captain Sarah Martinez would remain officially dead. She spent 2 years in military hospitals under a different identity, recovering from injuries that should have killed her. Multiple surgeries, physical therapy, psychological counseling. The woman who had saved 12 SEALs was learning how to walk again. The official story remained that Ghost 9 had died a hero, but the real Sarah Martinez was given a new identity, a medical discharge, and a promise that her sacrifice would never be forgotten, even if it could never be acknowledged. Morrison returned 20 minutes later, his face pale. His commanding officer had confirmed what seemed impossible. Ghost 9 had survived. The woman sitting in this bar was officially a ghost, someone who had sacrificed not just her life, but her very identity for her country. "Ma'am," Morrison said, his earlier arrogance completely gone. "My CO confirmed your identity." I don't know what to say." Sarah looked up at him, then at his teammates who had gathered around. "You don't need to say anything. You just need to understand that heroes don't always look like what you expect." "Why are you here?" Morrison asked. "Why reveal yourself?" Sarah smiled sadly. "Because sometimes ghosts need a drink too. And because I wanted to see if the men I saved that day were worth the sacrifice." She placed a 20 on the bar and headed for the door. The entire bar watched in silence as this small woman, this ghost, walked toward the exit. As she reached the door, Morrison called out, "Ma'am, we were. All of us. Thank you." Sarah paused without turning around. "Take care of each other out there, SEAL. That's all any of us can do." As the door closed behind her, the bar remained silent for a full minute. Morrison looked at his teammates, then at the shattered glass on the floor. He'd started the evening thinking he was the toughest person in the room. He'd been wrong. The next morning, Morrison would learn more about Ghost 9's classified record. 17 confirmed kills, 43 successful close air support missions, and 1 Medal of Honor that would never be publicly acknowledged. Some heroes don't need recognition. They just need to know their sacrifice mattered. And somewhere in Virginia Beach, a ghost was finally learning how to live again. This is Tracelight Stories, where real life meets karma, and sometimes the quietest person in the room has the loudest story to tell. Like and subscribe for more incredible true stories of justice and redemption.